All right. Welcome, everyone, to a Tuesday morning BRAP rant. I think I've done a Tuesday morning rant sometime. Anyhow, it's been a while. But yeah, wanted to do a quick rant today. This beautiful Tuesday morning here in the DMV. And let's see here. Just need to make some adjustments here. My sound settings. All right, cool. Um, yeah, so I want to do a rant, guys, because there's been a lot of conversation revolving around the Epic storefront and Steam. From if you're a PC gamer, you guys are very familiar with these launchers, these game stores, Steam, Epic, Origins by EA, Ubisoft has one, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But anyhow, GOG is another one, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. So Epic has really, I mean, if we look at what Epic has done over the last year or so, I mean, they've been fairly aggressive. I mean, I think we all agree with that. Fairly aggressive with coming into the marketplace and getting games as exclusives. I mean, they have locked down some pretty big games as exclusives. They did so with more recently with the new Borderlands 3, which was announced is going to be exclusive on the Epic Store for 6 months. There is a rumor circulating that Red Dead Redemption 2, when it finally makes it to the PC, could be exclusive to the Epic Store as well. So that has set many PC gamers in a tizzy, upset, hearing screams of anti-consumer practices by Epic. And I'm not so sure that Epic locking down exclusive games is anti-consumer. And look, one of the biggest reasons why one of the biggest reasons why Epic is getting these exclusives is because it's more developer friendly in terms of the cut of profits that the Epic game splits with developers versus what Steam offers. And so Epic has come in and they have, in a competitive market, they have gone after Steam. They've done so in an aggressive fashion. And look, that's part of, hey, what's going on, Daniel B? That is part of capitalism. That is part of a open market. That is part of competition. It's funny. Gamers always say, "Well, we want more competition. We want more competition," and then when we get it, we often complain, and you often hear things that, "Oh, it's anti-consumer. It's anti-consumer." And look, I don't think what Epic's doing is anti-consumer. No one is forcing you to use the Epic launcher to launch these games, to purchase these games. No one's forcing you. You have a choice as a consumer. And it's interesting. There's been a lot of blowback, especially with Borderlands 3 more recently, where gamers have gone onto Steam and been review bombing previous iterations of Borderlands as a way to voice their displeasure. Hey, what's up, indie gamer? As a way to voice their displeasure of Epic or Borderlands 3, more specifically, being a 6 month exclusive to the Epic Store. And look, I get voicing opinions, but I don't believe in review bombing. I don't think that's necessarily the right way to go about it per se. I think that look, speak with your wallet. If you don't, Punk Kiddish, what's up, man? DMV Gaming, that's right. And Nate says the fragmentation across PC was already bad enough. They're forcing you to ignore. They're forcing you to ignore you. What did I say? They're forcing you to ignore to play legally the first 6 months. Okay, they are forcing you to play legally. I'm sorry, I'm just not. And Nick, can you retype that, man? And I understand the fragmentation that's concerned amongst PC gamers, but look, we had. I'm not a PC gamer, guys. Full disclosure, I just don't. I don't have a rig, not yet. But we have on BRAP, we do have Gaming Forte, who has a very nice gaming rig. Primarily plays Destiny on his gaming rig. I believe plays Division 2 on his PC. And he said, "Hey, look, you know what? It's not a big deal to me. I don't care. It's another launcher, and Gaming Forte has 6 launchers on his PC, and he's like, hey, you know what? Click on the file folder, pick the game I want, launch it, bam, I'm done." And so, okay, so Nate says they're forcing you to use the Epic Store if you plan to play legally on the first 6 months. Here's the thing: they're not forcing you. You don't have to play it. And Nate, you still have the choice to buy the game whether you want to or not. And if you want to buy the game, does it really matter where you buy it? And that's why I look, I understand that Epic doesn't have, some of the features that Steam has. It doesn't, have the community forums built in for specific games. I get that. That's a nice, it's a nice, it's a nice luxury item to have. I understand that it doesn't allow you to, stream like it does. Like Steam has its own built-in stream feature, so you can stream games. Epic doesn't have that, but there's other ways to stream. I just, here's the thing. I don't understand the the anger of having to use, because look, you're not you're Epic isn't charging you to use their storefront. Um, Look, can we argue or debate about who has better options, better features? Sure, Steam. I would never say that Steam doesn't have more features than Epic does, but the end of for me at least, the end of the day, at the end of the day, back slow mo. What's going on, man? Slow mo backslap says they are Steam fanboys. Slow mo. Yes, they are. This is interesting, man. The PC master race is fighting amongst each other. It's fascinating. Mr. Kima says Steam has spoiled PC gamers. I think they have provided some nice features for gamers, and um, but I want to go back to kind of the whole argument of this idea of anti-consumerism and that Epic's anti-consumer. Again, I don't believe, and I'm not subscribing to the notion that Epic is anti-consumer. They're not forcing you to buy these games on you, because look, you don't you have the you don't you have the option to not buy them, and it's a storefront. This is it's just a fascinating, to me, it's a fascinating conversation and argument. And Nate, I get what you're saying. I just don't. I totally understand what you're saying in terms of Epic being the only place that you can buy some of these games for the first 6 months. But if you're buying, you still can buy the game. You can still play it, and Epic isn't charging you to use their storefront. And that's the part that I just don't understand. Like, we're all consumers. We all buy games. At the end of the day, it's about buying the game, right? To play it. Does it really matter where you buy it? Nate says a lot of people have no idea why this is such an issue. So I'll ignore the chat once. I know how ignorant people have been on this, especially people that it doesn't affect. Well, Nate, explain to me how this impacts people in a negative way. Because like again, I'm not a PC gamer, but we have Gaming Forte, who is a co-host on BRAP. Gaming Forte is a PC gamer. Like I said, primarily plays Destiny 2 on his PC. I believe he plays Division 2 on PC. Plays most of the newer games on PC. And he doesn't have an issue with this. And by the way, Nate, I'm not picking on you. I'm not picking on you by any stretch of the imagination. I want to hear your thoughts on this, because I think you bring up some interesting points, and I'm trying to get a better idea of kind of where you're coming from, your perspective on why people, um, why people may have an issue with this. Because to me, it's a matter of just buying a game. Like if I'm interested in a game, I'm a PC gamer. I don't care where I buy the game. You know, um, Now if Slow-mo says explain the difference between Metro Exodus and Borderlands 3 going to Epic and Rise of the Tomb Raider being exclusive to Xbox for a year. I think the obvious difference there, Slow-mo, is that you have to buy an Xbox in order to play Tomb Raider, which the Xbox is a pretty um it's a if it's it's a pretty big upfront investment to play that game where you know with you know with the Epic Store you don't have to buy the Epic Store. It's free to use. Um and Nate says if you've seen what PC gamers have had to deal with when it comes to other launchers, it's always a mess. Good example, couldn't even send a message on Uplay for the last 2 days. Looking up has been a known issue since 2014. I mean, I get those quality of life type things that can be frustrating. I guess for me, and at the end of the day, man, as long as I can, hey, what's up, Fuzzy Belvedere? For me, as long as I can actually enjoy the game and play the game, that's ultimately what matters to me. Um, if the ability to, the lack of being able to message someone impacts the gameplay or impacts the experience of the game, then yeah, I that would probably that would probably resonate with me a little bit more. But I don't know, I understand these, quality of life features. I think if something hasn't been working since 2014, and yeah, I can certainly understand the frustration in that. But at the end of the day, if you can play the game, isn't it what that's all about? The indie gamer has a question. He says, "Can you launch games through Steam, purchase outside though?" Right? I don't think you can. I'm not sure. So Punk Kiddish Gaming has no sympathy for PC gamers. He says majority of PC gamers dog on us console gamers 24/7. So I have zero empathy for PC elitists on this topic. Oh, come on, man. Look, I don't get into console war stuff. I don't war per se over gaming, but Punk Kiddish, I've seen that sentiment on Twitter. um Starbucks United says over $500 after taxes and any needed peripherals for an Xbox One X. It's an investment. Yeah. Okay. Um. Yeah. So I just don't. Look, I don't. It's it to me. It's. I like seeing this competition. I like that Epic has gone in and say, "Hey, you know what, Steam, we're going to take your lunch money. We're going to come in there and we're going to make this landscape a little more competitive." And I think that's great. I think it's great for the developers. Um, I think it's great, maybe hopefully in the long run for consumers. Again, I understand some of the features that people don't have on Epic versus Steam. I get that. Nate says most people like the cohesive nature and features of Live and PSN. Imagine you have a game that launched on either of those, and now you have an entirely separate friends list, no trophies, etc. Um, yeah, I mean, I could see that, but I mean, I think it just, Nate, I think it depends on the individual. I think it depends on the game. Do those quality of life things, do those, if I'm not a trophy hunter, so if I'm on the Epic Store and they're not giving me trophies, I don't care. That's not saying that, that doesn't mean that, someone who's a trophy hunter, I can understand if they're disappointed not being able to get trophies, in a game that's on the Epic Store. Um, but I mean, I don't know. I mean, that just I can only, I can only say for me. I can't say what's right for anyone in the live chat. For me, I'm not a trophy hunter. I'm not an achievement hunter. I don't care about those things. Um, I just care about having access to content. My friends list, multiplayer games. That's more important for me to have access to a friends list. But if I had to start a new friends list, I mean, would I care? No. In the grand scheme of things, it wouldn't be a big deal to me. I would just, meet more people online. It's not an issue for me. I can understand though if someone has a core group of friends that they have, on a friends list that they want to play with. Um, but I guess my other thing is, if it's a big game, a multiplayer game like say Borderlands 3, it's on the Epic Store. I mean, if your friends are interested in it, you got to imagine they're going to buy it there. If they can only buy it there, they're going to be there anyway. And it says, and imagine you have 15 different launchers, all with separate launchers and so on. To starts gets annoying. Starts to get annoying. I mean, I don't know, man. Yeah, I I could see how it might get annoying for some people. Having to launch a game, but then I mean, if you're using the launcher to launch a game, I mean, how's that different from launching a game on a dashboard? I mean, if you go to Xbox Live, and even if you're buying digital content, you still have to close out the game on the Xbox and go back and open up the new game. I mean, so isn't that similar? Or if you're playing, if you buy physical, you still have to, take out the disc and take out the disc of the game you're currently playing and put it back in the case and reach out and insert the game. I mean, and they say it's in a completely different environment. It's completely different. I mean, again, and I'm not picking on you. Explain to me how it's different. I'm trying to understand. Um, and it says you're still on PSN or live, but I guess if you're okay, I have Xbox, PlayStation, and you know, and Switch, and I switch between both consoles. I mean, I don't know. For me, it's just whether I'm on PlayStation Network or Xbox Live, it's an afterthought. For me, it's having access to a game, playing a game. So I that's the disconnect for me, and I think like as an and I was trying to get Gaming Forte to kind of explain this, and I think he did explain it on BRAP the other day. Um, he has 6 launchers, and he doesn't have an issue with them. He says it's pretty easy. It's just a matter of clicking on the folder, selecting the game, and then launching the game, and that's it. And again, I'm not saying that someone shouldn't be annoyed by this. I'm not saying anyone's wrong here with their opinion on this. I just don't. For me, I just don't. You know, I don't know. I mean, Forte has 6 launchers. He's a PC gamer. He's okay with it. Um, and but I can understand how others, aren't okay with, or maybe just want that convenience, that that one stop shop where they don't have to go anywhere else. I look, and people. I think people get comfortable with using certain. I think especially with PC software, people get comfortable with using, particular software. Um, and it says it's a multitude of things. For me, the fragmentation was already bad enough, and it's just gotten worse over time. It may not bother someone. The reality is, if it didn't make a difference, they wouldn't be going through the exclusive stuff. Um, yeah, man. Again, I don't, get Nate. I'm not a PC gamer. I understand that there's been concern about fragmentation with launchers, but I don't know, man. I just think it's an interesting debate that I've seen more recently. Sleepy Goblin says, "Well, it takes like a whole 15 seconds to switch." Sleepy, are you a PC gamer? Sleeping God says personally, no, no longer. It's interesting. Slomo brings up a great point about exclusives on consoles. He says that he finds it. Slomo says he finds it more annoying to have to pay a minimum of $300 on hardware to play a timed exclusive than needing to get a launcher. Yeah, that's I guess for me. I mean, that's kind of where my lens in all this is hey, like shit, it could be worse. You could have to pay a $300 to um you could have to pay $300 to um play in a timed exclusive game. That's true. Where these launchers are free, and it says when you buy a separate launcher, a lot of times you can't play co-op. Um, so there's no crossplay, which is similar to what we have on consoles right now, where you can't, if you own a separate console in the same game, you can't play co-op with that other person. Oh, you were answering Fuzzy. Okay. Let me go back and see what Fuzzy said here. Okay. Yeah. So Fuzzy was asking you the question. There's a barrier between games available on both Steam and Epic, no crossplay. Um, yeah. So he's saying there's, yeah, but I mean, I mean, I think that's kind of like the industry norm, though. I mean, there isn't crossplay right now on consoles with everything. Uh, should there be crossplay on launchers? Yeah, why not? You know, Jago in the live chat says I grew up having to buy separate consoles to play exclusive games, so it doesn't bother me. I think that's probably where a lot of maybe I think in terms of console gamers that don't game on PC, I think maybe that's kind of the perspective they have too. It's like, hey, well, wait a minute, like you're not paying $300 up front, to play a timed exclusive. It's a matter of just downloading a launcher. It's free, and you can still play the game. It's just, it's a really a fascinating argument, guys. Like, or debate. I should say argument, say debate. Um, I just think that I think that hopefully, we see Steam maybe become a little more competitive with terms of, their profit sharing with developers. And hopefully that we start seeing that. I mean, that's kind of what you hope to see happen here. And Epic has done what companies who are trying to get their foot in a certain industry or line of business do. They try to become disruptors. And look, Steam is, I mean, for more than a decade, Steam has dominated the PC gaming market. You probably look at more than 100 million people that have used Steam. So, I mean, let's look at the cut that Epic gives. Epic says that Epic takes about a 12% cut of the developer sales on its platform. Steam takes 30%. I don't know, guys. If I'm a PC, look, if I was PC gaming right now, I would use both. I would Epic. I would use the Epic and Steam store. I mean, I just feel like that's probably where the games are. I mean, Epic's. I mean, look what Epic's done. I mean, they start off with some smaller, high profile games, Ash and Hades. Then we have The Walking Dead, the final season, Division 2, and uh, we have what the games that were made by David Cage and his studio, and Metro Exodus, which I can understand people being excited about, being upset about that, because that was actually advertised as being on Steam, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh no, it's not going to be on Steam. So I understand why people would be upset about that. But still, even then, I would still, if I wanted to play the game, I would still go to the Epic Store. Oh, so Slow-Mo, you think Detroit's going to go multiplat to Xbox? What's up, Graphic God? And Nate says the main issue is that when you haven't been gaming on PC already and it doesn't affect you, it's hard to see all the BS that has already been going on. Again, I don't know. That's probably a fair point, man. I'm only going by what what Gaming Forte had mentioned to me about, playing on PC, and how it just doesn't bother him. Daniel B says I play on PC and it doesn't bother me. Um, but I was a console guy my whole life. I guess I'm used to exclusives. Nate, but Nate, I guess I know there's other launchers out there, but I think the ones that Fuzzy mentioned are probably the most popular, or they're probably the most used. Sorry guys, I'm just reading some of the stuff and then trying to catch up with some of the things that were said earlier in the live chat. Live chat's always great, by the way, guys. Thank you. Silence is golden. This is true, Slimo. Yeah, Slimo, you brought up something about the. I think there's a. If you use the Unreal Engine, I think you get like a better cut by going to the Epic Store. Yeah, I find this interesting. And Nate, I haven't been gaming, not a PC gamer. I know you've been doing it a long time, and so I definitely appreciate your insight into this. Because I think it's important to know too, to get the perspective of people who game on PC. I will say this though, I think that if Epic is going to help its cause with you know I think if it's gonna help its cause with PC gamers, and maybe overcome that negative perspective of being anti-consumer, they're gonna have to add some features, and some of the features that Steam has. Um, my understanding is that the storefront is not curated very well. I think Slomo had shared. Slomo, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you had mentioned that there's no search feature, I think, for games in the Epic Store. Is that correct? Slomo just said if you use the Unreal Engine, you don't have to pay Epic licensing fees. You get a better cut than Steam for just going exclusive to the Epic Store. Wow. Slomo says, I think they just added a search feature. Okay. Daniel B says, here's the thing. We always complain about Nintendo and lack of features, but we still play the Switch and their games because games trump features at the end of the day. I mean, Daniel, I can't, for me personally, games always trump features. Features are, quality of life things, the icing on the cake, if you will. But at the end of the day, to me, it's always been all games. But, hey, I think there's maybe some people out there, it's about both, and that's okay. Guys, I do want to ask everyone in the live chat one quick question. You guys can, what's up, Envy of a Story? You guys can answer this. Do you think what Epic is doing is anti-consumer? Please answer yes or no in the live chat. I'd be interested to see what you guys think. But on that note, I do want to move on to another topic as it relates to. This kind of ties into the whole aspect of streaming. As we know, Google at GDC announced Stadia, and a lot of conversations have come up about or surrounding. Well, how is streaming going to be viable for the video game industry? Like how is this thing going to work? I think Michael Pachter recently said that he believes that the idea of streaming is a little bit too late because most people own hardware and they're probably not going to buy into streaming. It's not going to be a one-to-one type situation, meaning that you have 100 million PlayStation 4 owners. It doesn't necessarily going to translate to um, all those individuals ending up streaming, which it's not going to happen. It's going to be something that progresses over time, much like other services that we've seen, things like Netflix. Um, And so, it's interesting. We've heard a lot of conversation about data caps. Like, how is streaming going to work when you're going to have data caps? Not all ISPs have data caps. I know Verizon does it. Comcast unfortunately does. Um, but it's interesting. T-Mobile, and so I've been saying that there's going to be. First of all, I think 5G is going to be the key to all this in terms of accessibility to game streaming to people who are in rural areas who don't have adequate internet. I know that Shlomo, we've talked about this a lot, where you've mentioned that just that for many times for ISP providers, if you think about traditional landline to the home cable service or internet service, that rural areas, it just doesn't make sense for them to invest in the infrastructure to lay the lines down because it's more money than it's more money for them to do that than to actually recoup in subscription fees in those rural areas of the North America or the United States. And I've always thought that 5G was the kind of tipping point to what we're going to, or I should say tipping point in terms of streaming being able to work at a high level. And I mean streaming, I mean game streaming. Um, and Nate says, I think we're still a ways from it, despite T-Mobile CEO calling out on Twitter. Yeah, I mean, I think 5G is, yeah, I mean, it's still in its infancy. I mean, we're not that maturation point yet with 5G. But I think like anything else, technology, it's going to take time. I always point to things and services like Xbox Live, which is 17 years old now. You look at Xbox Live on the OG Xbox, it didn't work well all the time. It would drop people. It was a lag fest at times, high latency. But that's not the case today. Um, and that's because of how the platform's matured and how much the better bandwidth has gotten over time. And I think we're going to see something similar to that. But I bring up T-Mobile because I thought that, yes, Slomo says, yeah, not a large enough population in rural areas for them to make good on their investment. And that's what I was mentioning earlier when I said that a lot of these traditional ISP providers aren't going to um, take the time to invest in those areas. Anyhow, so I'm sorry, guys, just reading more in the live chat. Just great conversations going on still about uh, the fragmentation of the PC market as relates to launchers. But so I had a feeling that this is just based on T-Mobile and things T-Mobile was saying and what Verizon has done with providing internet to the home. I mean, Verizon is potentially maybe cannibalizing their own FiOS service to 5G. I mean, they have recently launched 5G to the home in Los Angeles, Indianapolis, and it's like I think two other cities that Verizon is doing this, and people are getting up to a gigabyte download speeds and up to like 700 meg upload speeds for if you're an existing Verizon customer. I think it's costing you about $50 a month to use this service. People are reporting lower latency uh, than uh, than fiber optic to the home, and T-Mobile being the disruptor they are. T-Mobile, I'm a big fan of T-Mobile because they are disruptors in the industry, and they have just announced that they are. Um, Slomo says the planned implementation of 5G will be less expensive to get out to rural areas. That's a great point, man, and that's kind of where I was going with this Slomo. Um, T-Mobile is launching its in-home internet service, and this is and why is this big? This is big because they're going after the traditional ISP providers, the cable to home providers, Verizon, Comcast, Cox, Time Warner. They're going after these companies. And it's not going to be just T-Mobile. Yeah, Slomo, my Fugle hat is on as well, my friend. And so there's been a concern. Well, what about data caps? Well, if you think like companies like T-Mobile, they're going after Verizon, they're going after Comcast. Comcast has data caps. There's going to be a lot of competition. I believe there's going to be a lot of competition in the future for our money from these ISP providers because if you're T-Mobile and you go in and you're offering, I think they're offering 50 megabyte download per second speeds. I don't know what the uploads are. They're offering it over their LTE network, and they are offering no data caps. You got to believe that other providers are taking notice, and you got to believe that perhaps maybe the concerns of data caps and streaming are going to be put aside due to the level of competition we're going to have from people trying to these companies, going trying to get our dollars. And I think this is a big step. I really think that T-Mobile stepping into the home internet space. Daniel B says, "Here we go with the foolery." I think this is going to benefit gamers. Graphic God says they will take notice once it affects their bottom line. Yeah, I mean, I think if they start losing subscribers, they see people going over to T-Mobile. If Comcast sees people using Verizon 5G's in-home network, the changes are coming. And so I think this is going to be huge. And this isn't just about Stadia, by the way. I think this applies to any streaming service we see in the future, whether it's Stadia, whether it's XCloud, whether it's whatever Sony's going to be doing, maybe Nintendo one day, who knows? I think this is going to be huge, and I think that it's interesting. I still see people out there saying, "Oh, well, what about data caps? What about data caps? Or what about these rural areas?" Shadow the Ghost says net neutrality is going to stop all that watch. I don't know. I think it's too early to say that whether or not net neutrality is going to stop all this because it hasn't stopped T-Mobile from going out and offering um, no data caps. It could. I mean, we don't know yet though. Let's hope that let's hope the next year's election we elect a president who will go back to what the previous administration had in place with the FCC. Let's hope that's the case. But we'll see. We'll see. And I really think it's interesting that there's still folks out there saying, "Oh, this thing is not going to be, it's not going to work. It's not the future of gaming." Again, I got my Fugel hat on. I don't think it's going to replace traditional boxes right now. I think this is a an option, but I think we're seeing the groundwork being laid for potentially a time where we may not be using boxes anymore. Daniel says Nintendo is busy on developing 1080p gaming. 5G is black magic to them. Let's think about this, guys. Who I would be okay gaming on a 1080p device. I always thought 4K was kind of a 4K is, don't get me wrong, 4K is definitely a nice feature. Um, I will say though, to really enjoy 4K, if you depending, I think the impact of 4K is it depends on how far you are from your TV. I have a 55-inch um, TCL 4K, and I'm probably 5 feet from it. No, let's say more than five. Like probably about 6 feet from the television, and I wouldn't go any further than that because you don't see a lot of the um, you don't see the additional clarity, I think, or details sitting further away. Um, anyhow, Slomo says it depends. If T-Mobile's 5G implementation is still using traditional networking backbone, we will see the typical ISP bully tactics to keep them from creating a true free market. Slomo, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think they're I think they're using what Sprint has in place, if I'm not mistaken, which I think is a newer technology. I think that's why that merger with Sprint happened. I could be wrong, but I think that's. I'd have to Google that again. And it says I've been using 1440p for years. I'm not looking to go back. Yeah, but I mean, think about this, Nate. What if you're utilizing this on a mobile device, 1080p on a mobile device like the Switch? I mean, if 1080p on a smaller screen, the 1440p. I mean, are you going to notice that much of a difference on a small screen? And what if it scales back up to when you dock it like the Switch does? So some of the games do scale. Some of the games are 720p handheld mode, 1080p on TV. Maybe there's a situation where Nintendo scales the games up when they're docked to your TV. Again, I think a lot of this stuff is just for me. It's just fascinating. I think that we're seeing some of the groundwork being laid now for a lot of some of the newer technology we're going to see in gaming, especially with streaming. I'm telling you, I think, and I could be wrong. I think that the Google streaming service is going to surprise people. Now, I could be wrong. I could be eating crow next year. I could be eating crow. This thing could totally suck, be non-responsive, but we'll see. And I'm really interested to see what Microsoft is going to show. Hopefully at E3, they show us a little more xCloud because they seem very bullish on xCloud. So we'll see. We'll see. Um, Guys, I just want to say something. I really appreciate everyone in the live chat. Seriously, I mean, there's always a great there's always some great conversation going on in the live chat here in BRAP. And I really appreciate it. And Nate, thank you, man. I know you bring a lot of great insight. I really appreciate your insight, and Nate, because especially with what we talked about earlier with the Epic Store and the launchers. You being a PC gamer, I really appreciate you sharing that perspective. That's awesome, man. So thank you. And I do want to thank everyone in the live chat. Again, you guys are all wonderful. I really appreciate it. You guys come, hang out when I do the rants, and you hang out on Wednesday nights with us when we go live. So thank you guys again. It really means a lot. The show, um, is here because you guys support it every week, and so I just want to say thank you. And but on that note, I do want to go ahead and wrap up this rant because I do need to get back to work. um, but everyone, thank you again for hanging out with us this afternoon, and we are going to be live tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Please come hang out with us because we are going to have a debate between Slow Mo Backslap and Gaming Forte in regards to Randy Pitchford and Borderlands 3, the controversy surrounding that game, or more specifically, the controversy around Randy Pitchford. And Nate says, I appreciate you trying to understand both sides of the argument. Yeah, I mean, that's, and Nate, I don't look, that's what this, when I started BRAP, man, I wanted it to be a place where people can, share, their thoughts, their opinions on things. I didn't want it to be a big, you know, I wanted it to be different. I wanted it to be a place where people could just share ideas. Because I mean, you may bring up something that I never thought of, and I'd be like, and I may say, hey, wait a minute, that's a great point. Like I never thought of that way, or that makes sense. I didn't know that. And so and vice versa. And so I think it's important. I feel like we've lost the gaming community in some ways has been lost to identity politics, and I feel like there's a lot of that goes on, and I think it's good, it's healthy to have open dialogue, whether or not we have the same opinions or not. It's okay. It's okay. We don't have to agree with everything, and I think that's important. I don't think there's enough of that today. I think there's too much identity politics in gaming. So, just my 2 cents on that. But no, man, definitely, appreciate your insight and everyone else as well in the live chat too. So, on that note, guys, we're gonna go ahead and wrap up. Hit that like button, subscribe, hit the bell notification so you're notified when we go live on BRAP, and tell your friends about us. Look, we're our goal is to get to 2,000 subs, and we want to do that so we can start doing some other things in terms of giveaways and stuff to the community that supports us. So that note, I'm out. Everyone, please enjoy the rest of the day. We'll catch you guys tomorrow night. Tomorrow night again at 9 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Come hang out with us in the live chat. Listen to Slow Mo and Forte debate on Randy Pitchford. Nate says, I'll give you one more good example before you wrap up. All right. Nate says, an issue with Fallout 76 early on caused PC gamers IP addresses to display in game openly to everyone, even while streaming. Oh my God. Oh, dude, that's terrible. Dude, Fallout 76. And for the life of me, I still can't understand why people defend games that are released broken like Fallout 76. It just frustrates the hell out of me. Yeah, I think as consumers we should always expect better, especially that this hobby's not cheap by any stretch of the imagination. So, all right. On that note, everyone, thank you again for stopping by. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. We'll see you tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Peace.